So I wanted to buy my first car, and it needed to be something rather special. So I hopped on Facebook Marketplace with a budget of $3,000, and I set my search parameters, and off I went. It's fair to say that some of the cars available to me were interesting, and for someone who knows virtually nothing about cars, I didn't want to spend thousands of dollars on giving a shitbox a glow up. After searching for a few weeks with nothing taking my fancy, I came across a car, an old 1998 Land Rover Discovery, only an hour's drive north, and it looked pretty good. With a single message and an hour-long pilgrimage, I sealed the deal. A quick inspection accompanied by a verbal agreement and a Facebook Messenger confirmation later, I became the owner of my very first car. So, with the keys in hand and accompanied by the unregistered car permit, I hopped in and started the hour-long drive back to the local garage for a proper inspection. Arriving still in one piece, both myself and the car, it was time to have a look at it. First problem, the car died, but then it didn't die, and it was time for the inspection. Despite talking to the mechanics and they saying it was a piece of shit, I kept thinking, yeah, but it's now my piece of shit. However, I waited for the final verdict on what was needed to be done, or if I was about to list it back on Facebook Marketplace for spare parts. The final assessment included the degrease of the engine to check for any leaks. The front wheel bearing also had to be readjusted, and that the left rear door just didn't work at all. And to my surprise, that was it. They were very reluctant to admit, but the car was in really good running condition, and even more surprised to find out that within the car there was a service log which dated back to 1999. So someone has spent quite a lot of money keeping this in good condition. So after receiving the roadworthy certificate, I drove the car back with no difficulties at all and parked it outside the garage, which was going to be its new home over the course of its restoration. Now, just a bit of background about the car. The make itself never actually featured, but it was built based on earlier models which did feature in the very well known and respected Camel Trophy. The Land Rover Discovery debuted in 1990 with a Disco 1, which was a 3-door model at the time, took on Siberia. This would mark the beginning of the Discovery's reign as the chosen travel vehicle, which would last almost to the end of Land Rover's involvement in the event. The 5-door model was introduced the year after, when the teams took on Tanzania and Burundi. The 5-door model continued to be the car of choice up until 1997 in Mongolia, before finally changing to the Freelander in 1998. Although specific modifications were made in the factory line for these cars, the participants saw the Land Rover Discovery as one of the best 4x4s of all time. And that's why, if this car can be kind of restored to its former glory, it could have a couple of road trips under its belt. So, if we look at the car from the front, it isn't the prettiest thing in the world. The bull bar itself is beaten up, so I'm planning to either replace that entirely, or I could just scrub it down and then polish up the metal. The bonnet itself is in pretty good condition. There's no rust on the inside or anything like that, and it seems to just be the exterior paint job which is flaking and stuff like that, and it's been quite damaged by the sun, so that's a job for the future. The side of the vehicle, again in decent condition. All the wheels are looking amazing. They've all got the Land Rover logo, which is pretty cool. The glass, again, is all fine. Paint, again, maybe needs a polish or a compound, but besides that, looks pretty good. Even the back of the car looks in pretty good condition. So, all in all, I'd say that it's not a bad purchase. Plus, it came with a roof rack and an awning, so bonus. Opening the doors, the condition on the inside, it's not great. It smells old, like really old. So a deep clean is definitely needed. The headline as well is sagging in most parts, and the material underneath is actually decaying when you touch it, so it's just, I need to take it out and deal with that. Some of the door trimmings and the window trimmings are also coming off, so I need to fix them to make sure it's watertight. Plus, I just need to figure out where some of these cables go. There's random cables all over the place. And finally, the door. Yeah, that's broken. So, problem with it is the window regulator is missing, but having had a quick look online, they are pretty expensive for this model, and I'm not too bothered about the actual window opening, but I'll need to figure out something to actually lock the car with to make it secure. But for $2,750, I'm pretty happy, and I guess this is the start of the restoration.